We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome back to Technical Track A. We have 6 more exciting technical talks in this track. Next up, we have Widad Machmouchi. She is a Principal Data Scientist Manager at Microsoft, and she will be presenting 6 lessons in 6 years as a data scientist at Microsoft. Widad, a reminder to set your timer. Enjoy.
Okay, I'm just sharing my screen. And let me start my timer. Hello, everyone. My name is Widad Machmouchi, and I wanted to share with you some lessons I've learned over the years in data science. So I thought 6 lessons in 6 years, that worked really well. But then I started to do the presentation. I was like, oh, no, 7 is better, kind of maybe share more than 7. And then turns out, no, I should do 8. And then eventually I just gave up and said kind of lessons learned in 6 years in data science. So let me talk a little bit about my my journey. I got my my degree in engineering from the American University of Beirut in Lebanon. So this is where I am from. And then I came to Seattle to get my PhD at UW. So I did a PhD in computer science at University of Washington here in the computer science and engineering department. And then immediately after that, I joined Microsoft. I did an internship first, and then returned as a full-time employee. Been here like 6.5 years. As with all tech, had like 6 managers and 3 teams. It's all been great. I learned a lot from the teams and the managers I've been in. My work is mostly focused on A/B experimentation, user measurement, and user modeling. So EXP, where I currently am, is the experimentation platform at Microsoft that allows teams to run A/B experiments to test the changes that they want to ship to their product. So we work with teams like Bing, where I've also spent 5 years before that, but also teams like Office, Visual Studio, Xbox, Edge, and so on. I've also been a manager for a year, and it's definitely been a very a great learning experience overall for me. So I'm hoping kind of this experience that I have I would like to kind of give you some of the lessons I've learned over the years. And this is just kind of highlight of what I've learned. Please take this and add it to the great lessons that you guys are learning from this conference and from the other amazing women that have been sharing what they've learned over the years too. So I'll be focusing on 3 major areas, talking more about technical skills and how to grow them, how to develop good communication techniques so that your results are well seen, and then some more leadership and career planning going forward. So let's start with the technical skills. So the first lesson I've learned is to become an expert in what you do. There's really no way around it. This is the foundation of everything. You really want to be good at what you do and learn as much as you can and become more of an expert in those skills that really separate you and make you make you the person to go to actually perform these tasks. And what you don't know, there will be a lot that you don't know, just learn. So you can learn from your teammates, whether it's class through your employers. The team that you're in actually has a lot of variety of skills, particularly in data science. People come from a lot of different backgrounds and they have flexed different muscles overall. So thinking about what you can learn from your teammates is also is kind of even more relevant in data science because of the different backgrounds that we have. Be curious overall. Listen to podcasts if that's if that's something that you do. There are a lot of data science podcasts that we can listen to. Keep up with tech news to know what's going on. Go to conferences like this one, even bigger conferences where you can learn more of. Keep up to date with kind of the most recent kind of research innovations. And the other great skills that I found very important, particularly as a data scientist, if you work with other partners, is to be comfortable making these trade-offs. So in industry, it's rarely the case that there's just like one solution for everything. You're always trading off things. Sometimes you need to there's a life site issue and you possibly need to do a quick hack to fix it versus going and identifying the perfect solution for it. Sometimes you need to ask for help if you want to get started on a project and immediately show results versus figuring it out on your own and spending time trying to understand kind of all the nuances of what's going on. And for me, for this particular one, what I found very useful is kind of if you believe they have the expertise to know whether your results pass the sniff tests, are you able to tell that some results are invalid? If you're not able to, I would not go immediately into the research, but go and try to understand and learn more about the material that you want to work with before you go and do the analysis you need to do. The second important things I really found very useful is to manage yourself as a resource. So think of your time as a resource and invest in a high return on investment ventures. And don't just limit yourself to your current job or to the current projects you're working on, but think of like what skills will you need in your trajectory? What will you need in a year, in 6 months, in 2 years, in 5 years, and so on. So don't limit yourself just to the things that are immediately in front of you. Think about this, the investments that will give you the highest return overall for your own growth. And what's important is to know your time's worth and your worth. Like sometimes certain projects or certain tasks are just simply not worth the time. And you want to be comfortable saying no sometimes. You have a limited amount of resource, you have a limited amount of time, and you want to invest in the things that have the highest return. So even if something might look like a quick fix, remember that this took hours of training for you so that it's a quick thing to do. So you want to be discerning into the stuff that you take on. The other good skills that I've learned over the years is to always strive to become responsible for a big deliverable. And what this helps you to help you with is go beyond data science skills directly and learn more about project management. How do you prioritize your work? How are you accountable for a deliverable that you have? So you want to be able to plan a project, have a clear deliverables and clear milestones so that you can achieve the things that you wanted, that you are responsible for. And this actually teaches you how to be consistent and reliable too. So know when to schedule a deadline so that you know that you'll be able to meet it, and be consistent in those, because consistency is one of the most important aspects of your reputation as a data scientist. If you're consistent and reliable, people want to work with you. So let's move on next to communication. And for me, communication is as essential as technical skills. Data science has a kind of multiple aspects of the work. It's not only just about programming, it's not only about coding, it's not only about doing research, and it's not only about analysis. Actually being able to properly communicate the results that you have are essential. So master the executive summary. You're going to be presenting to your leaders, you're going to be presenting to your managers. Being able to summarize and synthesize the data to the exact point that you need is very important. You want to be succinct and to the point, and you want to drive that point home. One thing I use a lot is this rule of 3. So this is a trick I learned in one of the executive leadership classes at Microsoft, and this is really one of the ones that stuck with me a lot. So identify 3 main points that you want people to remember and reiterate them. State them at the beginning, restate them in a summary, and kind of have those highlights that you want to be in rules of 3. And as you can see so far in my presentations, I've had like 3 lessons. I had 3 points per category. So kind of 3 tends to be a number that people tend to remember well. And it helps you kind of ground yourself into the main points that you want to deliver. Another aspect of communication is how you communicate with your customers, whether they're partners, whether they're other teammates, whether they're people you're consulting with. It's really important to empathize with your customers because you want to know their problems. You want to engage with them, understand what their pain points are, and try to find ways around their pain points so that you can come to a feasible solution for everyone involved. And when emotions rise and stakes are high, there's this book that I really like called Crucial Conversations. They have a lot of techniques about how to resolve these conflicts and how to get to a place where you're at a compromise solution that everyone can accept, everyone feels safe sharing the issues that they have so that everyone can come to a mutual agreement. So I highly recommend this book. It really kind of changed the way I interact with people and how I actually see these conversations that can become a bit more controversial or crucial. The other one that I also learned is to communicate using SMART goals. So it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bounded. So it's this framework that allows you to set these kind of tasks and or communication with people to where it's very clear what we're trying to achieve. These are goals that you know what they are, you know whether they're achieved or not, when to achieve them, what's their impact, and how to actually achieve that. So making sure that as you're set these goals or you're communicating with people that you are satisfying kind of these properties will lead to kind of higher success in the achievement of these goals. The last part I want to talk about is leadership and career. This is very close to heart for me because I learned a lot from my managers. I had some really great leaders overall, but also it's one of the things that I think as a data scientist, as an analyst, was extremely necessary and actually helped me move forward in my career, having these good leadership skills. And the main point here for me is that leadership is not about authority. It's not about telling people what to do. It's more about influencing them to do the right thing. It's influencing them through your expertise, being able to bring the right data, being able to properly explain things. And particularly when you're leading a team, it's not about authority, it's about influencing at these critical junctions, influencing at times where there are some contention possibly, or where we need to make a trade-off. But for most of the time, it's following what your team is telling you what to do, because they're possibly working on this project themselves. They know it better than you. So allowing them to lead you in the decisions that need to be made is actually a big aspect of leadership, listening and following the people that you are leading. The other aspect of leadership is to make people want to work with you because you're effective, you're thorough, you're willing to help, even if it doesn't have an immediate impact. Being sometimes willing to help and offer the help to people, because it will make a huge difference for them, and it might not be as kind of as much of an investment for you. So always be willing to help, be willing to listen to them and take what they need into account. The last one is having the social sensitivity, and this is particularly for us as women and minority in general. Be an ally for people who gets interrupted and not listened to in meetings. Keep an eye out for that. Listen to what people are saying, and don't always be thinking about, oh, what's my response going to be. It's about listening and understanding what they're trying to say before you start asking questions or preparing your response. And I think this is a big aspect of promoting people around you and making sure that you are aware of all the emotions that are in the room, so that you can react to it properly, address it properly, and make people feel safe. The last one I want to address is balancing it all. We all want to have work-life balance. We all want to grow in our career. So how do we balance all of these different aspects of our career? What I've learned and what my experience has been is that it's mostly cyclical. I'm not going to always be in any point in time balancing exactly the exact amount of work and life that I need. It's okay to for some time your work will take more priority, and other times your life will take more priority. Sometimes you'll be investing in your long-term growth. So be comfortable with kind of the cyclical aspects of it. In terms of growth, find time for reading groups in your company or in your team, cultural event, training, conferences like this. And this actually gives you visibility beyond your immediate team. So don't just be focused on the specific projects that you're doing. And then the most important aspect for me is always find time for non-work, non-career related activities, any hobbies that you have, anything that you want to pursue. And this actually gives you something outside of work to grow into, to have an identity in, and that makes it so that you're kind of evenly spread out across all of these different aspects of your life. So to wrap it up, these are kind of the main highlights that if I were asked, I would recommend to someone. Always work on your communication. Good data science work is way more impactful than communication. Leadership comes from technical influence and empathy with your customers and coworkers. And work-life balance and career is always going to go through cycles, and it's always a way to stretch yourself and keep growing within that space. Thank you for listening, and please feel free to reach out and connect on all the regular channels. Thank you.
Hi, Widads. That was fantastic. You were so right about communication. Fantastic. So thank you so much. That was great. We're going to transition to Q&A. So Widads, you actually do have 4 questions pending. Attendees, remember to upvote the questions that you would like to see answered. I'll turn it back over to you.
Sure. So do you have a data science podcast I recommend? Yeah, I have a few. I think the top one is Linear Digressions. They actually, they go into like specific topics and discuss them, sometimes some papers, but more like topics and multiple papers around that topic. Data Skeptic podcast is also a good one. There is one called Econ Talk. So it's more economics, but they have a lot of also data science components to them. I really like Econ Talk one. It's a longer form, so it's an hour, but it's also very very relevant. What are some projects that junior data science are expected to work on? So these can be like, if you look at a bigger project, so let's say they're delivering a big platform, for example, as a junior data scientist, you might be responsible for one specific module in that platform, and you're working on it. You can be responsible for interpreting data and like looking at user behavior, for example. And these don't necessarily have to be like small on their own, but they can be part of a bigger project that you work on. What resources help you handle the product management aspects of the large-level deliverable you work on? Actually, one of the main things that helped me is actually have a timeline, a reverse timeline for your project. So I start thinking about when I need to deliver it. So let's say my delivery is July 1st, and then I work backwards. What do I need to be done by June 1st? What do I need to be done by May 1st? And then this gives me kind of a reverse timeline on the things that I need to do when I need to do them. So that, and I give myself enough buffer to account for things that might come up that I haven't thought of. How do you always be willing to help while still managing yourself as a resource? And that's where the power of saying no comes in. Being able to, so one of the things, like I as a data scientist, I was kind of helping a lot of Bing teams understand their metrics. So I was getting pinged a lot, for example, over email, and I wanted to help, but I could not do that. So what I did is I started scheduling an office hour. So this way people won't email me, they just come to my office for 30 minutes a week, and then I can help them answer their questions quicker. So be willing to help does not necessarily always mean investing a lot of time. Sometimes saying no, but also sometimes finding places where you can help people and not invest a lot of time yourself. How can I make a change in career path from software engineering to data science? How are the interviews for newcomers? Whoever asked that question, I'm happy to talk about this more. I think this requires a longer answer than I think the 5 minutes that I have, but please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer that one.
And so we do need to, we need to switch over to the next speaker. So what you can do is